Hi, and welcome to the Simpler Twin Life. Today I want to talk about something a little different, not what we do as parents, but what we intentionally don't do. Before I get into it, I just want to say that there is absolutely no judgment here. Every family is different. This is simply what works for us. We've learned these things along the way. By no means do we have it all figured out. This video is not meant to make you feel bad in any way. We're just sharing our experiences. So as I always say, take what's helpful, leave what's not. What matters most is finding what works best for your family. First, we avoid scary movies and experiences. One thing we don't do is expose our kids to scary movies or intense fear-based experiences. And the reason we don't do this is because kids don't process fear the same way that adults do. They can't always separate that imagination from reality, and fear can show up later as nightmares, anxiety. It overstimulates their nervous system, especially when they're this young. Our girls are 6, so we really try to protect them from these intense, scary things. Even things that can seem mild can stick longer than expected. We also avoid creating fear around normal experiences like going to the doctor, the dentist, or things like losing teeth. Instead, we try to prepare them in a calm, age-appropriate way so that they know what to expect. For us, we focus on peaceful inputs over fearful ones. We focus on age-appropriate content. We monitor their tablets, and when they're around other kiddos, tablets as well. We even let people who watch our kiddos know that their watch list is safe to watch, but we prefer that they stick to that so that there's no issues there. We feel like this protects our kiddos' sense of safety, and there's plenty of time for scary experiences later in life. We do try to prepare them on how to handle scary situations, though. For example, one of our daughters is extremely afraid of loud noises, especially thunder. So we try to give her skills to face her fear and teach her how to cope with it as effectively as possible. We also don't save our girls from hard things or rescue them from challenging situations. We encourage them to struggle a bit so that they can find their own way through, learn how to problem solve, and also know that we're there to support them. Next, don't come at me for this, something else that has really helped our family is limiting excessive sugar and artificial dyes, especially red dyes. We're not extreme about this, but we are intentional. We notice differences when they have too much, and this is really related to hyperactivity, mood swings. They have a harder time focusing and seemingly like regulating their emotions. So what we do is limit it at home as much as possible, and we do allow flexibility for things like birthday parties. The goal is the balance, not the restriction, so we want them to understand that these are sometimes foods, not everyday habits. We also don't do sodas. Soda is something we've chosen to avoid for now. It's high in sugar, no real nutritional value, it can shape early taste preferences, and it easily becomes a habit. Instead, we focus on building healthier habits first and letting those choices come later. This one is really important to us. We don't force our kids to give or to take hugs, kisses, or any physical affection, even with family members. This is important because it teaches them bodily autonomy. It shows them that their boundaries matter. It builds their confidence in saying no. We're teaching them early on that high fives, waves, and kind words are important, and we need to ask for consent, even in small moments. We want them to grow up knowing that they are in control of their own body and they have the ability to say no. We also want them growing up respecting other people's boundaries and bodies when they say no. Other things we avoid are too much screen time. We've noticed this can impact their attention, sleep, and behavior. It can also replace creativity in real-world interaction. We don't have TVs in their bedrooms, and we have the screens put away about 2 hours before bedtime. We avoid overscheduling. We don't feel the need to fill every single moment. Kids benefit from boredom, free play, time to be creative, time in their rooms, all the kinds of things outside. We avoid giving constant no's without explanation. We've all heard the old saying that when a parent says no and the child asks why, we say, "Because I said so." And sometimes that is warranted. However, for the most part, we try to give explanations so that our kiddos understand why and are less likely to repeat the behavior. This especially is important whenever we're discussing safety issues, so the girls understand that our main job is to keep them safe, and we keep that in mind for every decision that we make. So when we say no, it usually is related to something like that. We try to guide instead of just shutting everything down, and that helps them understand the why, not just the what. We avoid comparing them to each other or others. Especially with twins, this is easy, but we try to avoid it, and other people will bring this up too. Instead, we focus on their individual strengths, going their own pace. We're also mindful not to speak negatively about others around them. Kids absorb everything, and comparison can easily turn into dissatisfaction. Plus, let's be real, if you don't want something repeated, telling your kids not to say it is usually the fastest way to make sure it gets out there. More importantly, we just want to model respect, kindness, and not judging others, whether it's appearance, ability, or anything else. We don't hesitate to say, "I'm sorry." This is something that really matters in our home too. We don't hesitate to apologize to our kids because we're human and we're going to mess up. It teaches them everyone makes mistakes. It shows them what a genuine apology looks like. It builds trust and emotional safety, and it models how to repair their relationships. We want them to understand that saying I'm sorry isn't just words. It's taking responsibility, meaning it, and doing better moving forward. Accountability goes both ways. Next, we don't give in to negative behavior. This one can be hard, but it is important. If there's a meltdown, we stay consistent with the original boundary. Giving in can teach that behavior changes the outcomes. If I continue this negative behavior, I'll get what I want. Consistency teaches that boundaries are steady. So, okay, mom and dad aren't giving in. I've got to act right if I want what I'm asking for. We focus on staying calm ourselves, holding the boundary, and reinforcing positive behavior. Over time, this helps them learn how to manage their emotions, what behaviors are effective, where boundaries are, and there are consequences for our words, our actions, and our choices. At the end of the day, this is not about being perfect parents. It's about being intentional. The goal isn't to follow rules, it's to build a home and environment that works for our family. Thank you so much for joining me today. If this is helpful for you, please share and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. It really helps us out. See you next time. Stay blessed.